Is there a difference between the Rebbe's earlier Drashot sermons and the later ones, especially after the Great Deportation?
Yeah, 100%. And in fact, this is one of the areas where scholars tend to have, extended dispute over how to understand the Rebbe's relationship to the theology that came out of the Holocaust. And in particular, my colleague Shaul Magid and I have had numerous debates online and in person about, and kind of like serially about what to make of this. The Rebbe's drashas clearly change over the course of the war. And there are many factors that could be involved. One thing, for example, is the content definitely shifts from fairly simple, fairly brief Chumash Rashi shiurim that are maybe 2 or 3 pages of text to, when you get to 1942, long, involved 10, 15-page drushos involving all kinds of Kabbalistic sources and all kinds of really challenging, out there, outre Kabbalistic ideals, and as he tries to, week after week, grapple with the heart of darkness at man's soul and try to understand the question of why does Hashem allow this to happen. And so some scholars have argued that his amuna shifted or even broke towards the latter part of the period. I, along with Daniel Reiser and several other scholars, argue that no, his amuna, his personal faith, never actually slipped. Right to the very end, he's constantly writing in the vein of someone who's clearly a Maiman, someone who clearly still believes in the essential belief in monotheism of a personal God that has a place in history, is not abandoned the Jews. But there's no question that at a certain point, and I can give you some sense of that specifically when that point was. We all agree that it was in the spring of 1942. His approach to the whole question changes. His tone becomes much more insistent and demanding. You feel like he is not necessarily any longer in a dialogue with this Hasidim, but now he's directly in a dialogue with God. That he is really asking God from the depths of his soul, I don't understand. Please help me understand. Or more important than understand, please put a stop to this. It's a very, very different kind of weight and heft to his words that we find after the spring of 1942. And so that's where we have among scholars the debate about, well, how do we characterize this? What was the antipatus, or what was the, that's the right word? What was the, I don't know what word I was looking for there. It was
trigger.
probably a $3 word. It was, I don't remember what it was. What was the ideology of that change, let's say?
Okay.
It's most likely the Groyanowski report, which is when a young man escaped from the death camp of Chelmno and smuggled himself into the Warsaw Ghetto to speak with the resistance. And he gave the resistance a completely detailed understanding of what was actually happening to the Jews in the ghettos, that they were being sent to these factory-like settings where they were being gassed and then their bodies were cremated. And it was such a stark and dark vision of what was happening to the Jews of Europe that it radicalized the resistance even further. They managed to get it out to the West, and in fact, parts of it were published in the New York Times. I mean, the Groyanowski report had a huge impact. And as my colleague, Dr. Casso says, we even knew the color of the tiles in the gas chambers at that point. So it was all accurate. I and many other scholars believe that this is specifically the point where the Piaseczny Rebbe, when he heard the results of the Groyanowski report, he ultimately had a different kind of shift in the way in which he approached these issues, and he maintained that posture until his death.